There's something you may not have noticed, but you may already be feeling it. A kind of quiet exhaustion that doesn't always have a clear cause. Not physical, not obvious, just constant. You wake up, and before your mind has even settled, something is already asking for your attention. A message, a notification, a thought about what needs to be done. And slowly, without really deciding to, your attention begins to move outward. From that moment on, your day starts to fill. You respond. You think. You adjust. You carry. And by the time you pause, if you pause at all, your mind already feels occupied. Not because something is wrong, but because your attention has been everywhere. There is something important to understand here. This kind of tiredness is not always about doing too much. Sometimes it comes from reacting too often, responding to everything, thinking about things that don't need to be held right now, giving your attention before you've even had a moment to return to yourself. And when that continues, day after day, it starts to take something. Not all at once, not dramatically, but gradually. A sense of steadiness, clarity, space in your own mind. And you might notice this in small ways, finding it harder to stay with one thought, feeling pulled even when nothing urgent is happening, wanting to rest but not quite being able to settle. If that feels familiar, there is nothing wrong with you. Your mind may not be struggling. It may simply be overextended, overused by constant reaction. So for a moment, you can step out of that. Not by fixing everything. Not by organizing your life. Just by pausing. Here. Take a breath. Not to change it. Just to notice it. Let your shoulders drop, even slightly. Let your jaw soften, if you can. You do not need to respond to anything right now. Not your phone, not your thoughts, not what's waiting for you later. This moment does not need anything from you, and something subtle begins to shift. When you stop reacting, even briefly, your attention starts to return. Your mind has space again. Not because everything is solved, but because you are no longer being pulled in every direction. You may not need more control. You may just need less interruption, less checking, less reacting, less carrying what does not belong to this moment. I am allowed to pause without falling behind. I do not need to respond to everything I notice. My attention can return to me. And when it does, something becomes clearer. What actually matters? What can wait? What never needed your energy in the first place? You don't need to withdraw from your life. You don't need to disconnect from everything. But you can choose when your attention moves. You can choose what you give your energy to. And slowly, that changes how everything feels. Your thoughts settle faster. Your decisions feel clearer. Your energy stops scattering. Not because the world changed, but because you didn't follow it every time it called. There is a quiet strength in that. Not loud, not visible, but steady. The strength to remain with yourself, even when everything is asking you to look elsewhere. And the more you return, even briefly, the more something begins to realign. Not instantly, but naturally. Because your energy is no longer everywhere. It is here, with you. And from that place, everything becomes simpler. Not easy, but clear. You don't need to force alignment. You create it by returning to yourself. Just like this. If this gave you even a small sense of space, you can come back to it. Whenever your mind feels pulled again,